Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you very much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. Shout out to all the subscribers. As always, welcome along anybody new. Gratitude to you. Let's talk about this 140 pound division because it is still pretty stacked. You know, there's a lot of moving parts. Obviously quite a few fighters recently at the top there either lost or had controversial wins. You know, it's a division where, you know, because there's so much talent, a lot of fighters can get good wins over really good fighters, and we're seeing that. We also have a division where there's probably about 10 or 11 really good southpaws. 10 southpaws in one division. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I'm talking good southpaws. We're going to get into all of that. We're going to get into potential fights. We're going to get into just what it means for this division in the next 6 to 8 months. Let's go.
Boxing.
Okay, thanks to the subscriber that requested this video. I really appreciate it. And to any of the other subscribers or anybody watching, I'm all open to suggestions for videos. If it makes sense and I have time, I absolutely will. I did make a video on this same division about maybe 6 to 8 months ago, and you know, a lot's changed since then. So let's start with the recent losses or the new champions. Obviously Liam Paro becomes a champion, defeating Subriel Matias last week. Then you have, he's the IBF champion. Then you have Teofimo Lopez, who is the WBO champion. Then you have Devin Haney. I'm not going to go into too much of what's going on with him and Ryan Garcia, because to tell you the truth, I don't really know, and I don't really care that much, if I'm being totally honest. But in terms of boxing, he's still a champion at 140, and I think he's still a pretty good fighter. We'll get more onto him in a little bit later on. And the other champ is the WBA champ, and that's Pitbull Cruz. So all tremendous fighters, but let's go down the list, because I'll pull up the rankings right now. And sometimes, you know, with the rankings, I'll be honest, I don't pay that much attention to them all the time. I'm not saying they're not important, they definitely are, but you know, they can be you know, let's just say manipulated by the the sanctioning bodies who want to bring in fighters here and there wherever they want. Sometimes they just don't make sense, is what I'm trying to say. But you know, they're still important, don't get me wrong. But if we look at the rankings here, they are all over the place. But you even with fighters like Kenny Sims Jr. Now he's been a little bit inactive, I think, or at least been flying way under the radar. I didn't mention him in the last video I did, but he's got a win over Elvis Rodriguez.
Ooh, Sims, that boy can fight, boy. He can fight. Now he's stepping to Rodriguez right now and finna beat him at his own game. Finna beat him in the inside.
He's a really, I was going to say pretty good, really good boxer. He can switch hit. He's got good craft, beautiful jab, good skills. He's definitely one to watch too. All the way over in the UK, Dalton Smith. He's making a name for himself over there. Very crisp, sharp puncher, counter puncher, skillful, intelligent, and he just knocked out Zepeda in a spectacular body shot. Actually, really caught him in the solar plexus with like a shovel uppercut. Really mean shot.
That's good, lovely body shot. Big attack from Dalton Smith before halfway in round 5.
Then obviously, look, you still have the likes of Shojahan Ergashev, who did obviously lose to Matias, but he just came back with a good win over some Panamanian. And I didn't watch the fight personally. I've just been trying to check on all the fighters, so there's too many to kind of do all taps on. But I'll roughly round in a roundabout way explain where they're at, because Jukembayev is on a 5-win streak now, and he's teamed up with Bomac. He means business. Now I wouldn't be surprised if he came back and made another run for it, or at least had another title shot, because I think he's a pretty good fighter. I think he's a really good fighter actually. Kazakhstan, amateur background, tough guy, getting on a little bit now, but he's one of the southpaws. Let's just talk about the southpaws quickly, because it is pretty crazy. We got Jukembayev, Ergashev, Liam Paro, Josh Taylor's still in there, although I'm pretty sure his best days are well behind him. Jack Cattrall, that's 5. Elvis Rodriguez, Alberto Puello, who just came up with a fantastic win recently over Gary Antoine Russell. That's another southpaw. That's 8. I'm trying to think. I know there's 2 more. I know. Well, let's Regis Prograis, Jose Cepeda, but he's more of a gatekeeper now. I don't see him as a legit threat. He's lost a few on the bounce. And it's so crazy because when I made this video before, it might have been right around the time, right before he fought Regis Prograis. And he was considered the top 3 or 4 then, right? And then right after the Regis fight, you know, he you know, slowly I just thought he would become a gatekeeper straight away, and he basically is. But he's still, you know, he might cause some problems for contenders coming through. That might be a good fight for him, like Dalton Smith just did, for example. But then let me try to think off the top of my head, because I've been looking at this division and I've all of a sudden just forgotten the fighters I wanted to talk about. But let's talk about the champions, right? Teofimo Lopez. The thumbnail of this is who's the king at 140, and let's be honest, he's the king at 140 right now. Not saying other fighters can't have a chance of beating him. I do like, we'll see when Matias comes back. I'm going to talk about him briefly because I really am interested to see how much desire he's got left, you know, because of his style and because of his animalistic side and his savagery. The shelf life of fighters like that, you know, tends to be a little bit shorter because they are in savage wars. They do get punched a bit more than your average fighter because it is a gladiator spirit that he fights in, and you know, it's like he's a human being at the end of the day. So anyway, I still like him in a fight with Teo if he can get that Ponce energy, you know, that same energy where he had it in the Ponce fight and the Jukembayev fight and the Ergashev fight. If he's got that, then I'm giving him a good shot. But Teofimo Lopez, he's the king at 140 right now. He's actually fighting this weekend against Steve Claggett. Be honest, I haven't watched a lot of Steve Claggett. I barely heard of him when his name got brought up, and I did a bit of research. Seems like a fairly like slow, steady combination, like a volume puncher, pressure fighter. I think Teo is probably going to get the stoppage there. He should easily. I say easily. He should. That's the style Teo should have no problems with. He's an elite counter puncher, and you know, he's just a tremendous fighter. He should be soundly beating the likes of Steve Claggett. Although, you know, it'll be interesting to see how he deals with the pressure. Talking of dealing with pressure, Richardson Hitchens, right, who won in a controversial fashion. I saw the highlights yesterday. There's no full fight. I've been missing a few fights recently because I've been working on Saturday nights now, but I'll go back and watch it. But Hitchens was holding for dear life in a lot of rounds. I was very surprised at how mediocre Lemus made Hitchens look in the small footage that I did see.
Let's see if Lemos can take advantage. Hitchens just grabbing on. Body shot. Stop. Las Vegas. Big right for Lemos.
Well, you wanted excitement from Richardson Hitchens. You want to see guts? You're getting it now.
But, you know, a lot of people thought Lemus won that fight. And a lot of people thought Sean McComb, I think it's his last name, the Irish guy that lost to Arnold Barbosa, who's another, you know, I guess he was sort up in the top mix of the 140s, although he hasn't really had a signature win or anything close to it, really. I think that McComb win was a little bit of a eye-opener. You know, there's a lot of fighters recently that have had eye-opening performances from a negative perspective. If you think about Gary Antoine Russell Jr., although Puello boxed a beautiful fight, tricky southpaw on the back foot, and then obviously Liam Paro came in and did what he did. You know, Jack Cattrall actually is fighting Regis Prograis now. So much moving parts in this division. That's why I made this video as well on top of the recommendation, because I can see some major upsets happening soon. I mean, think of it as a promoter. You've got 10 or 11 southpaws that, you know, some of them fight like real southpaws. Like, when I say that, I mean like using their advantages of southpaws, using angles, using the lead hand battle well, using that backhand well. You know, like orthodox fighters aren't as accustomed to this. So it's you got, if you're a southpaw, use your southpaw skills like Liam Parrow did. You know, turning fighters. You know, there was a lot of talks after about how he held too much and he was, you know, maybe headbutting. I didn't see any headbutts, but I did see plenty of rabbit punches, which was just like really crazy, really, when you think about it. Because his corner told him, is like, don't give the ref anything to go off, right? And if you're constantly punching someone in the back of the head, you're asking for a point deduction. But let's stay on Matias and Parrow right now. I'm going to switch to Matias because I did make a video recently about how he said he never had a game plan and was just wondering, you know, about what his state of mind is and where he is and what he's going to do in the next few months. Because I mean, he's a key part to that division. I think it's so exciting when he's on. He's really on. And you know, even though he just had probably the worst performance he's ever fought, it did not look like the ferocious himself. He wasn't fighting in the clinches. He wasn't really trying to. He looked like he gassed out early. It looked like he was too friendly with Parrow. But, you know, if you get him where he can be mentally, and like whether he actually has the desire to box and really, you know, because that didn't seem like he really, I know that a lot of talks about him being out the night before as well and stuff like that. This is what I'm saying. A fighter like that, the way he fights, he's got to be in it 100%. Desire with you know, no distractions and just going in there. Because I was honestly going to put him against Regis Prograis. I thought that would have been a great fight because Prograis coming off a loss as well. So you got all these southpaws coming off of losses. Not Matias, obviously he's not a southpaw, but Gary Antoine Russell Jr. just lost to Puello, split decision. That was quite a close fight, but you know, Puello is going to possibly cause some upsets too. But the Jack Catterall and Regis Prograis fight, right? That's in August. When I heard that announced, I just thought to myself, Regis Prograis has had trouble with fighters when he's tried to chase them down and cut the ring off, and he hasn't been able to do it at all. Didn't do it very well against Zorrilla, and then immediately when I saw him, the Haney fight come through, I was like, Haney's gonna easily win that fight because Regis has no idea how to cut the ring off. And I love Regis Prograis. I've watched him for years. I've made so many videos about him. I just think stylistically that could be another banana skin for him against Jack Catterall. Tricky southpaw, back foot, good defensive fighter. I just don't think Catterall's got the stuff in him. You know, that real gritty element that Regis does. So if Regis can get to him and cut the ring off a bit better, you know, because he just really didn't do it at all. And it's not like, I don't think he can. This is the thing. I'm surprised they took that fight, but that'll be in August. Where Josh Taylor goes from here, I'm not quite sure. Like I said, I think he's got 1 foot out. To be honest, he hasn't had a good performance since the Ramirez one, which was in 2021, I think. You know, he's looked flat. And he's looked like a fighter that's made a lot of money and cashed out, and I've got no major problem with that as part of the sport. It's such a grueling sport, such a tough sport that, you know, I actually don't mind it when fighters take a bit of time off. And don't get me wrong, this sounds like a contradiction because I absolutely love it when fighters want to get the best out of themselves and want to do the legacy and want to just fight everybody. It's amazing. I take my hat off to that. But in the same notion, I have a slight understanding of how tough the sport is. Nowhere near on that level at all, I'm not saying that. But like when you compete a little bit and you're training constantly, you think, man, this is tough. That's without all the pressure and all the mental stuff and just the physical beatings for years and years and years that these guys go through, which is why I'm so like want to be the channel that has to put so much respect on these fighters' names. My gosh, they're superhuman beings. They really are. And this division is a super division. And Pitbull Cruz, another champion. He's fighting actually Valenzuela. Jose Valenzuela. It's his first entry to the 140-pound division. Pretty tough fight for him, to be honest, because he's quite an aggressive guy. He can punch a little bit, but if you're an aggressive guy fighting an aggressive guy who's got a better chin than you and he's a bit more compact, I think Pitbull Cruz is dynamic, tight, that wide leaping left hook. I can see Cruz getting Valenzuela out of there at some point, to be honest. Chris Colbert, not Colbert, DeSantos, right? Edwin De Los Santos stopped Valenzuela. I can see Pitbull Cruz stopping him, to be honest with you. But again, it's a pretty good fight. You know, there's so many good fights. It'll be interesting to see where Ergashev goes, because on any given night, he's still a tremendously, amazingly hard puncher, and he can end a fight just like that. He has a very predictable one sort of style of fighting, and if you can neutralize that or bully him like Matias did, you know, he's going to be in some trouble. But he can really punch, and he's still a live underdog for however many rounds he's able to flash those hard shots in, because man, he can really crack. As I said, Jukembayev, I wouldn't be surprised if he came up with some thrilling fights. You know, him, actually, I don't know who promotes him, but, and this is where it gets messy, doesn't it? Because Jose Ramirez too. He's had some good wins recently. You know, I know he hasn't looked spectacular, but he's chipped away and got some wins, and he's still in that conversation when he gets a fight being made. Like, I think, you know, Regis was saying that Ramirez ducked him. Teo said that he ducked him as well, but who knows? You know, I'm sure maybe if you look closer there are some facts to it, but you know, I tend to not follow their stuff too hard because there's so much to follow. I'd rather watch videos on, you know, the art and science of boxing, to be honest. But 15 minutes in, all right, I've been rambling a little bit. I feel like I could go on forever about this division, but long story short, we've got some really good fights in this division. Once Teo, well, I say gets past Claggett, I think he's the king now, but he'll be the king at 140, and you know, there'll be some tremendous fight. I'd love to see him and Haney. I'd love to see him and Pitbull. I'd love to see him and Matias, with or without Matias's belt. I know he called out Matias and said that he was an easy fight, and said what he said about Puerto Ricans. Well, to see you back it up, I'd love to see it. You know, if he's an easy fight, then take it. But at the end of the day, I'd love to see a bit of time to see where Matias is, because he's going to need a bit of rest and just to have a think about how much he wants to do boxing, because he can't show up like that fighting these top guys, man. He'll lose again, unfortunately. You know, he's just, when his style's on, it's on, but he's got to get the best out of himself, and no distractions for it to be, you know, spectacular. Let me know what you think, guys, on some of these 140-pound fighters. I know Elvis Rodriguez is still in the mix. He's a pretty damn good fighter, and he's got a very powerful left hook, beautiful left uppercut as well. Right uppercut, actually. Both, he's power in both hands. He's a good fighter. I think he'll cause some upsets too. But hopefully we can get some good fights made, and when they get made, I will be all over them, and I'll be doing fight breakdowns for all of them. 140-pound division is something I'm going to focus in on quite hard. So next fight up at the moment, at least from a top level, is the Jack Catterall Regis Prograis fight, and then hopefully we can get some more announcements soon. And you know, I tell you what, I don't know if Elvis Rodriguez is still with PBC. I know he was, but him and Gary Antoine Russell Jr., why not? Why not? Let me know some thoughts of yours down, and put some fights you want to see happen in the comments. I'd love to hear from you guys. I've got some videos on the way, and I want to say thank you to all the new subscribers. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to old subscribers. Big up to anybody. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Gratitude. Have a lovely week. All right, I'm out.
Boxing.
On it.